On this controversy, this back and forth over deportation, bring John Sandweg in. John served as the ICE director for some time under President Obama. Welcome as always, John. I feel like this is a legal story, an immigration story, a political story, though, above all. We'll talk about this. I've soundbite to play from the administration, another one that, you know, they're putting their opponents in a position where they almost have to sound like they're defending gang members, right, in a way. But what about the legal issues? If this were you running ICE at the time and weighing in on all of this, how'd you see what happened over the weekend?
No, Connell, I mean, this raises a number of really interesting legal questions. The first is, what is the administration's position with regard to court orders? And I think we've heard conflicting kind of issues here. One is that the president's executive authority and his war-making authority that he invoked with this alien enemies designation supersedes the order of a district court judge. But then conversely, we've also heard that they acted within the confines of the order of the district court judge. I think it'll be very interesting at today's hearing. You know, the court is scheduled a hearing at 5 o'clock tonight, seeking answers to questions about when the flights left and did they contravene or, you know, his order, the district court's order that no flights, no deportations occur under alien enemies. That is itself a very interesting and very important issue, not just on the immigration-related issues, of course, but across the board as the president faces all these injunctions by district courts about a lot of these executive actions. Of course, the second big legal issue is, can the president label this, you know, invoke alien enemies in the first place? Is this a foreign invasion or incursion? Is this a war that we're facing where he has that unilateral authority to suspend due process? And then kind of one other thing, just quickly, what I want to note is that this was not a normal deportation. 99% of the deportations are where you take an individual and you report them to their home country. Here, this was a deportation to El Salvador. And while the Immigration Act certainly contemplates that the United States can deport people to third countries, what's very unique about this is we deported them to El Salvador where they were immediately incarcerated pursuant to an agreement we had with El Salvador to incarcerate. So it's kind of like we're bypassing the criminal justice system, not just an immigration issue, but also raises serious, you know, questions about the Fifth and Sixth Amendments.
Do you have a level of confidence that these guys are even gang members, or that we know for sure that they are? I mean, the administration says they are, but moving so quickly, should we take them at their word, or?
You know, Connell, you ask anybody who's experienced at ICE, they'll tell you that one of the hardest things to do is prove up gang membership. Now, typically what's going on at ICE is we're trying to deport someone who has a criminal history, and we just need to prove up the criminal conviction. Right. That is easy. We have court records. We say, here they are. They were convicted in court. They're ordered to get them in order to deport them. With gang membership, it's harder. You're relying on, you know, sometimes, a lot of times it's these tattoos. Oh, this tattoo is associated with that gang, or it's associations. It can be very difficult to prove, right, in a court. But at least in court, the other side is the opportunity to challenge the evidence. Of course, the concern here is that the unilateral, you know, authority that the administration has given itself to determine that they're gang members, thus subject them to the order, obviously it raises a lot of questions and concerns about, are mistakes going to get made?
Now, on the politics, as I said at the top, to me, that you could see this from the president's commentary and those in the administration. They like this conversation and they welcome it. They like the idea that they're going to be like, hey, these are bad people and we're trying to get them out of the country. And if you're going to fight back against that, as I said earlier, you're essentially defending these gang members, right? Here's what Tom Holman, the border czar, said a little bit earlier on.
We removed terrorists. That should be a celebration. We removed terrorists from this country, and I stand by what the president did. I support 100%.
How do you determine whether somebody is a gang member? What criteria do you use?
To various investigations.
What do you say to those who say claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
Yeah, talking about the Enemies Act there. So, again, they like this conversation politically.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Connell, at the beginning, right? By this operation does push the opponents of the administration in a position where it appears that they're defending gang members. I think the only way to explain this is to say that in this country, including gang members, including terrorists, including criminals, we do provide due process of law. And I don't think that there's been a shortage in our ability to get gang members off the street, in order to get criminals off the street, in order to charge criminals, in order to charge terrorists. And give them that due process. We can do both in this country, but I think you are 100% right. It puts the Democrats in a position where it looks like you're fighting for transnational gang members, when really, I do think people can legitimately oppose this in a way where their concerns are due process of law, not allowing gang members to run free on the streets of America.
No, I understood your points that were made earlier, made well, but that's just the reality of the politics of the day, I think, that we live in. We'll talk more leading up to that hearing, 5 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, John. John Sandweg with us today, as always. Always great on these issues. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.